Hi, I'm Jennifer. Welcome to Orton Gillingham Coaching. Today I would like to do an overview of short vowel rules. And Orton Gillingham is an effective approach because they put rules to help us learn why things happen the way they happen in the English language. Short vowel rules are some of the first taught. The FLOSS rule is taught up here. And then we move down to the K rule, the K sound rule, and Ch rule, and then the J rule. So I'm going to go over each one of those individually and give a couple of activities that you could do with each. When do we teach short vowel rules? We start pretty early with the FLOSS rule. It's all the way up here on our scope and sequence. It starts pretty much right after blends and digraphs. We start teaching the FLOSS rule. Next we teach the K rule, and then down here we have the Ch and J rules right next to each other. So we're doing a pattern, but there's a lot in between it, so it's building on each other. But those are where they are on my scope and sequence. Let's explore each of these rules individually, and I'm going to give some activities with each. The first rule that we teach is the FLOSS rule, and that says double the F, L, or S at the end of one-syllable words following one short vowel. So the word floss is an example, but we also have cliff, grass, fill, words of this nature. Z also follows it, but there's so few of those. The words like buzz and jazz, you could teach those as exceptions or you can teach those as part of the rule. It's up to you. I've seen it both ways. I generally just teach those as exceptions. Other words that are exceptions are if, chef, pal, has, this, us, thus. So there's quite a bit, bus, there's quite a bit of words that are exceptions, but we just teach it as a general rule, and a lot of words do follow it. So you're safe to say that double the F, L, or S at the end of one-syllable words following one short vowel. Some things to be aware of are when you have an A followed by an L in words like small or fall or mall, they typically will not sound like a short vowel sound, even though they are. So that's something to make students aware of. Be careful, and this a little more advanced, but there are words that end in double L's like knoll and scroll that sound like long vowels or have long vowels. What activities can we do? So one that I like is I made puppets. This is one and this is one. I have them on the same ruler right now, but normally I don't. I put them on something else. But so these are super easy to carry around. I can ruin them and not care, but you could get something fancier. But create this puppet. It's flossy. You can see it has a little floss. Both of them have the little floss. This is Flossie, and I introduced Flossie as a puppet who loves to double F, L's, and S's. Flossie is going to whisper in the student's ear. Grass, mass, floss, pill, and want them to hear it and then take the letters and write it on these are younger kids, so they can spell it out on your magnetic board, or you can have them use these sandpaper letters and then they can trace them. So you're getting all three, your auditory, they're hearing it, they're seeing it and writing it, and then they're also kinesthetically tracing it. So this is a three-pronged approach to learning the FLOSS rule. Another activity you can do that's kind of fun with kids, and especially younger ones, is jump and spell. Just create spaces on the floor using tape or chalk. You say a word like hill, and the student will jump from space to space saying the sound of the word. So and they have to do two L's. So when they get to the final double letter, they jump in place twice. Then you still have them write on a board. You still have them write it, either with the letters here, with the sandpaper letters, or you can even have them write it on a piece of paper. Next we have the K rule, and that is taught here on our scope and sequence. And the K rule says, CK is used after one short vowel at the end of a one-syllable word to spell the sound K. Examples are lock, pick, deck, and duck. So those are some examples. The sound K is usually spelled with a C, a CK, or just a K. We use a K after a consonant, a diphthong, or a magic E word. And examples are trunk, spook, and lake. We use a C at the end of multisyllabic words after a short vowel. For example, music, cosmic, psychic. So some flags to look out for is that the letter C is by far the most common spelling of the K sound. Then when using the letter C, more than half the time it will be a hard C, as in the cat. When K is used as an initial letter, it usually occurs before an E, I, or Y, and that is because the C couldn't do it because of our C and G rule. C followed by E, I, or Y, or G followed by E, I, or Y is going to make the C say S and the G say J. So that is why you will see kitty. The word cat is spelled C-A-T. The word kitty is spelled K-I-T-T-Y, because if you tried to spell that with that C, it would be city. In a few words from the French, the ending sound of K is spelled with a Q-U-E. Examples are technique or antique. Activity we can do for the K rule is a flashcard drill. So you have some flashcards with images on them. Let's say the image is of a duck. The student will look at the duck and say the word duck. And then they say, okay, try to spell it. So they attempt to either with magnetic letters, they could do it with the sandpaper letters, or they can just write it and they try to spell it. And then they see if they got it right. Flip it over and the word duck is on the other side so they can see if they got it. Again, we're looking for it to be auditory, kinesthetic, they're writing it, and visual. So they're seeing a duck, they're visualizing the word duck, they are writing the word duck, and then they're flipping it over and seeing the actual word duck. If they got it incorrect, you want to reinforce speaking about it, reinforce the rule, talk about it. The next activity is called interactive storyboarding. What you do is you have either sentences prepared or even a story. And as you have it heavily with CK words in it. And maybe even some that don't follow the rule, but I would first do sentences that 100% they follow the rule. And you can do, later you can introduce some that don't and have them mixed. But what you do is you have them look at the story, maybe highlight the words, and then draw little pictures to go with it. Let's say you are doing something about a truck or a duck or a dock. So you want, or lock. And you want to have them draw a little picture of a lock. You can also use stickers. So if you have the pre-prepared story or pre-prepared sentences, you also have to have the corresponding stickers to go with it. Again, you can really make these on your computer. Just go get some sticker paper and print them off if you'd like. So afterward, you would go through the story together, identifying, writing down the CK words too. So you're highlighting them, having them draw illustrations, talking about the words. This is getting them talking about the words. That's the point of the stickers and illustrations. Then you also would have them, well, let's write the word lock. Let's write the word truck. And then, like I said, later you could introduce some words like trunk or spook, words that have the K sound but don't. But at first I would just use CK words to do this. Our next rule is the ch rule. The ch rule says TCH is used after one short vowel at the end of one syllable words to spell the sound ch. Examples are match, batch, pitch, scotch, fetch, or hutch. The sound ch is usually spelled with a CH or a TCH. We use the CH at the beginning of a word, after a consonant, and after a diphthong. For example, chair at the beginning, drench, we have the NCH, or screech, we have the diphthong. There are exceptions, and I learned a word worms. The O is not used, and it is which, rich, much, such. Activity number 1 is getting the kids again out of their seats. So you have words, hatch, patch, latch, catch, and you make images to go with those words. You have a starting point not too far away, but far enough away they can get up and go get it. So you will say the word hatch, and you'll have like a chicken hatching, and they go over to the table and look at the images and they pick the hatch, and they come back and they write the word down. So they have their image, they write it down, and you try to get them to get it correct, of course. You can also, I would start simple, real simple, using the words match, that, draw a match, something that follows the rule. Then you can introduce words like lunch, bunch, some other words in there too, and have them spelling more difficult words as they go along, but still keeping the interaction fun. Another activity is just letter tile building. We use our magnetic letters again, and you say the word fetch, and then they get out the letters that spell it, and then you discuss why it was TCH instead of CH, and if you use a CH word, then you talk about that as well. Again, I would start very simple, using only TCH words to begin with, and then gradually introduce the other words in. So we want to do this cumulatively and make sure that again, we can use these sandpaper letters as well to do these words, and so that they can trace it. But you want them writing it, hearing it, and visualizing it as well. Our last short vowel rule is the J rule, and it is down here by the Ch rule. They're together. And the J rule says DGE is used after one short vowel at the end of a one-syllable word to spell the sound J. Examples are wedge or judge. Use the GE after a consonant, diphthong, and in a magic E words. For example, merge, stooge, or rage. Students have to understand the C and G rule, where G followed by an E, I, or Y is going to have the soft sound of J, and the C followed by E, I, or Y is going to say S. So that's the C and G rule, and they need to know it for this particular, because obviously DGE says edge. It has the J sound. So that's why this is later in the scope and sequence. Our first activity is tile manipulation. We get our magnetic tiles back out, and we provide the student with a base word like budge, and we ask them to form it using tiles, our magnetic letters. Then we discuss the J ending. We mix it up by giving them a word like bug, and then saying, how do you add the J sound to that? So first we do having them do the word budge, and then we do the word bug, and then we say, well, now we're going to add the J. So it's just providing them with a tactile and visual way to represent the rule, to make the rule out of another word. I wouldn't do this activity just right off the bat, but it is something you can do to just make it more fun. Another activity is color and coding. We put some DGE words on a piece of paper, and then we have the student use markers or pencils, colored pencils, to circle or shade in the vowel, and then another color to code the DGE ending. And then we discuss the rule as we do this. So if the word is badge, we emphasize the short vowel, and then we follow it with the DGE. So we're talking about the vowel being short, and we're talking about the J sound with it. So we're visualizing the distinction of having a vowel. We're visualizing the rule. We also want to have them writing or tracing those as well to make sure that we get the kinesthetic portion, not just the circling. But that's the visual, and then we want to say the words out loud. So we want to make sure we do that three-pronged approach: kinesthetic, visual, and auditory. Another activity we could do is using little tokens. You can actually get coins, you could get pennies or something, or just make some paper tokens, anything you want to do, but you use the tokens for this activity, and you say a word and you have the student repeat it. Let's do the word badge. So student says badge, and as they say each sound in the word, they place a token down. So you would have them say b-a-j for each sound they hear. You have them place down a token. After they place down the token, then you have them actually write the word. You can do it with the letters again, or it's probably better at this point just to have them write it. But the tokens will help them segment the sounds. That's what you're doing. You could also do this with a bubble. B-a-j. So you don't have to do tokens, but it's just one kind of fun way to use something tactile for them to use instead of just writing and hearing the sounds. As a final word, OG is cumulative, and the students will see a pattern going once you start doing these. but we do start up here and come down here, so you need to reinforce when you're going back. If you have a student that's in second grade, they may have not had the FLOSS rule, and they may be down here and you're getting their spelling list, and you can teach them the CK rule or the K rule or the J rule, but you might want to go back and teach them FLOSS rule as well, and it's still all helpful. I also like to give my students index cards with the rule printed on there, and I will put a hole punch in the corner, and then I get a little ring and I tack them together. And so students end up with kind of a big ring of stuff, because I do it for all the rules, the syllable division, and it's nice because when they have a little question, you allow them to get it out and look at the rule. And when they're practicing, it's okay for them to have it sitting there and they have to read it again and memorize and soak it in, because this is cumulative. It's meant to be repeated over and over and over again. So those little index cards really do help. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you'll like and subscribe and visit the workbook store.